Guys, I have to ask. Is it gay to literally do anything? I mean, how many times have you heard that joke? The fellas, is it gay to do something joke? How many times have you heard it? I've heard it in multiple forms. But honestly, there's one that I really don't like. It's a fun joke, but there's one that I don't like. It's this super straight movement that's been going on for a little bit now. By a little bit, it's not been going on for like a shit ton of time, but we're going to talk about it. Okay, so this thing began on TikTok with this guy talking about super straightness. So let's go ahead and see what super straightness is.
Yo guys, I made a new sexuality now, actually. It's called super straight, okay? Since straight people, or straight men as myself, I get called transphobic because I wouldn't date a trans woman. You know, they're like, would you date a trans woman? I'm like, no, why? That's a female. No, like, that's not a real woman to me. Like, I want real woman. No, you're just...
No, that is transphobic, my dude, but we'll finish your video.
Transphobic. So now, I'm super straight. I only date the opposite gender, women, that are born women. So you can't say I'm transphobic now because that's just my sexuality, you know?
Okay, so we already had something for this. We had gynephilia. Like, you already had gynephilia. That was a thing that people already used to bounce around this. I'm gonna be honest, dude. If you just don't want to date a trans person, like, that's your business. I find it a little bit weird when you say I would never date somebody who's trans, because you have to ask, what is the reason? And your reasoning here is functionally that you don't think trans people are real. You literally don't think that trans women are real women. But they are. You even recognize that there was a difference between AFAB and gender. So it's not like this is completely lost on you. But apparently, this video has 8 million views. Apparently, enough people are going behind this to where they've got a flag now, apparently. And what they're doing is they're using the progressive language. You know, this is my sexuality, blah, 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 to try to argue pro-transphobia. Now, if you don't want to date a single person, you owe nobody your body. You owe nobody that. That's fine. Nobody's going to make you date anyone. But when you try to argue that there is a fundamental difference between a trans person and a cis person outside of their lived experiences, especially when you're talking about gender, then you're basically arguing biological essentialism. There is something essential about womanhood to you that a trans person simply will never have or simply can never be. And honestly, I gotta say, that's incredibly cringe. It is transphobic. You can sit here and say, no, I'm not transphobic because I made it a sexuality. No, the mentality that you have that a trans woman is not a woman, you even said it in the video, not a real woman, that is transphobic. You dating a trans person or not, nobody fucking cares. Nobody cares who you date, believe me. Especially not with that face. Nobody gives a shit who you date. But what we do care about, generally, is the mentality. If your mentality behind not dating a trans person is you don't believe that they're valid for whatever reason, that is transphobic. You not wanting to date one doesn't fucking matter. You can hide behind it, and the proof that you're hiding behind the not wanting to date them is you trying to make it a sexuality is a thing. But it gets worse than this. So, I found this out from this tweet here, the super straight movement, because it's turned into a thing on TikTok. According to Poison Sapnap, who, again, this is not outside the realm of stuff that I've already seen trans people have to go through. I have no reason to believe this isn't happening. But apparently a few people have taken this super straight movement too far. They've been doing things like doxing trans people, sending them death threats, finding families of trans people and threatening them as well, finding dead names of trans people and exposing their dead names. Do I have to go into why each one of these is wrong? Really? Doxing people is wrong because, in general, when you dox someone, you are automatically painting a target on their back. Sending people death threats? Really? Would you want that happening to you? I don't know why I'd have to explain that. Sending death threats to people is fucking bad. Finding families of trans people, you are going... How many times do you think a trans person is going to be in the closet and somebody finding their family is going to lead to them being outed when they weren't prepared to be outed yet? And then they're going to get hurt. Kicked out, maybe, forced to be homeless, abused. There is a laundry list of issues that happen when you out trans people when they aren't ready to be outed. And of course, finding dead names and exposing them, there are plenty of trans people who have trauma linked to their dead name. Hell, even just dysphoria linked to their dead name. And it is not your job to police whether or not a trans person has to be outed. That is the trans individual's job, not yours. Completely. So, unfortunately, though, there's not a whole lot that we can do about something like this, except understand that this is a thing. People are doing this, and it's gross. But this is indicative of a larger issue that's been going on lately. You see, it's not just this that's been happening. It's not just that, oh, well, there's one guy on TikTok that started a whole super straight movement, and now we've got issues to go with. No. Gets worse. Gets worse. Now we need to talk about Alabama. Everybody ready to talk about Alabama? I'm never ready to talk about Alabama. But let's talk about the fact that Alabama's Senate just voted to make hormone therapy and surgery for trans youth a felony. Oh, but it's not just that. It gets worse than that. But let's continue. You see, when people try to argue that everything's okay for trans people right now, it's shit like this that I can point to show that no, it's not. We got a long ways to go. Under this new law, transgender youth in Alabama could not be treated with puberty blockers, hormone therapy, or surgery. Now, this one is important. Think about this. If a young child if an AFAB young child shows signs of breast cancer, we would use hormone blockers in order to prevent that cancer from developing, because breast cancer will actually feed off of estrogen. And puberty blockers will stop that, which will stop the thing that the cancer is growing with. A cis AFAB person could get puberty blockers for an issue that they have, but a trans person could not get puberty blockers. You're okay saving cis people, but trans people? Fuck them. This is the shit that leads to suicides. You know when we get the statistics, oh, the LGBTQ people are more likely to commit suicide, LGBTQ people are more likely to have this, that, or the other issue, this, that, or the other mental issue. You know why that happens? Do you want to know why that's a thing that happens? This shit. You want to... Let's see here. Senators voted 23-4 to approve this measure that was dubbed the Vulnerable Child Compassion and Protection Act. Compassion. Yep, that's the word they use. As if compassion had anything to do with it. This was sponsored by Republican Senator Shay Shelnut. Just so we know. This sexual predator-looking motherfucker. This smile that you probably see from behind a white van. Oh, and you know what? I'm sure there's somebody who's going to get angry at me for saying what I just did. But you know what? I don't care. I'm tired of dealing with these shits. I really and truly am. The bill now heads to the State House of Representatives, which has already approved a companion bill. The two bills would make it a felony for medical professionals to treat transgender minors under the age of 19 with any gender-affirming care. Any violators would face up to 10 years in prison or a $15,000 fine. Why? What is the benefit? Who benefits from this except pearl-clutching conservative parents? Oh, but they're not going to be benefiting from it because I'm going to go ahead and give a content warning here. We're going to talk about suicide for another second. No parent benefits from their child committing suicide because their parent was a fucking idiot. Nobody. Not one. The bill also requires any school staff in the state to disclose to a parent if a minor's perception is that his or her gender is inconsistent with their sex. Essentially, teachers are required to out transgender students to their guardians, regardless of whether or not they're ready to do so. What the fuck? What the absolute flying shit fuck? This is happening in the state right next to me. What the hell? The quote says, children aren't mature enough to make these decisions on surgeries or drugs. The whole point is to protect kids. Okay, cool. So, I wonder if these people realize that when we're talking about puberty blockers buy time. The goal of the puberty blockers is to buy time for a child so that they can grow old enough to make that decision without having to deal with other shit. Again, a cis person can get all of these drugs for any number of things, but the minute it's a trans person, the minute it's trans, we have legislation built to deny them medication, deny them therapy, deny them even the protection of their teachers and trusted peers. Because of this bill, a teacher would be faced with 10 years in prison or a $15,000 fine for not properly outing a trans child. How does that protect a child? Mr. fucking Shelnut. How does this protect a child? How? I ask you. By the way, his email's right here. Spam the fuck out of him. This dude literally just argued. We're gonna do it. Fucking virtually bully this man. I'm sorry. Don't bully him. Don't do that. But definitely send a very, very stern email about why this is not okay. This is all public information. This is the man who has decided that it's a-okay to hurt people. Do not engage in targeted harassment, but certainly do what you are legally allowed to do in the United States. Contact your senators and representatives and tell them that this is not okay. That is a thing you're legally allowed to do. If YouTube decides that this is the time that it wants to knock out one of my videos and say that I'm engaging in targeted harassment, fuck you, Google, and fuck you, YouTube, because this is literally the thing that United States citizens are supposed to be allowed to do. You, as a politician, do not get protection from the general public when you are arguing for hurting children and outing them in potentially abusive situations and sending our educators to prison for not outing people. Is it legal to write a senator not from your state? Yes. Senators are public officials. No, we don't brigade here, but we do voice legal concerns. The American Civil Liberties Union pointed out that the bill runs counter to medical science, The Human Rights Campaign, which is a campaign that I actually do support financially and everything else, pointed out that SB 10 has passed in the Alabama State Senate. The companion bill, HB 1, has not yet passed the House. If you want to know what these bills are and check them out on the government website, that's how you do it. HB 1 and SB 10. They need everyone to speak out before Alabama criminalizes gender-affirming care for trans kids. If you live in Alabama, please call your legislators and tell them not to vote on HB 1. Hey, look, there it is. There's your call out. Please call your legislators. Don't let them do this shit. The SPLC and the ACLU and the AIDS Alabama and several other groups are organizing in person right now to protest against this bill on Tuesday. I mean, fuck it. Tuesday? What day is today? Saturday? I can't make it to Alabama, unfortunately. Not with my car in the way it is. Fuck. I would rather like to be there, too. Honestly. But... oh, wait, no, that was March 2nd. That already happened. Never mind. I'm too late. I'm too late. The House is also currently considering House Bill 391, which would ban trans youth from playing on school sports teams. I don't know how many times I have to say it, guys. It was never, ever, 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 not once, not ever, never, ever about the integrity of sports. It has always been about finding an avenue to be a transphobe. Always. Always. There may be one or two people who were duped into thinking that this was about the integrity of sports and started really, really looking into the science of things and trying to do their damnedest. And you know what doing your damnedest would be? Just supporting trans people who already have to deal with enough shit and not letting bills like this pass. HB 1 and SB 10. And of course, fucking the last one, House Bill HB 391. Contact this man. His email is here, shay.sd17@gmail.com. Tell him that this is not okay. Tell him that if he is going to be a public official that represents people in the United States public, he also, by necessity, represents trans people. Do not let this shit pass. Do not let this super straight shit continue. How do we say this without insulting him? Easy. Have you ever done a sternly worded letter to your boss? Same way. Corporate needs you to find the difference in these two pictures. Anyway. Point is, comment section, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you plan on doing about this. No targeted harassment. Do not go to this person's front lawn or any shit like that. That's dumb. That's not okay. But you can go through the proper channels here. You can use his phone number. You can use his email. You can send a letter to him. You can do a ton of things to try to help out in this particular situation. And I would implore you to do so. Really, truly, and honestly, I would implore you to do so. We understand puberty blockers decently well enough to know that they are a good thing to have available for kids if there might be issues, if they have issues developing. So please, help trans people. Don't let this shit happen. Anyways, hit the like button if you... I really don't think liking this is functionally what happened, but it definitely lets the algorithm know that you engaged with it. So please, like it, share it, do something that lets the algorithm know that this video is going out to some people in some way, because we need people to actually contact the representatives and stop this. This is wrong. Subscribe if you haven't already. As always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.